Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Oh, hello everybody. It's time again for Those Were the Days, the show that tonight is talking about a show about nothing. That's right, we're heading into the 90s with Seinfeld. And I couldn't get through this jungle of horrible people without my own horrible people in tow. She's the funniest one on the show, and we all know it, Amy Frost.
What? I can't, yeah.
If he barged into your apartment regularly and ate all your food, you wouldn't even be mad. It's TV's Travis.
Okay, so there's a local store run by a mom and pop that does nothing but tea towels. They clean tea towels. I have taken all of your tea towels, all three of you. I've taken them there. They're going to clean them up for you. Should be ready next week.
And if he told me he was driving Christopher Lambert's motorcycle, I'd believe him. Audie Norman.
Yeah, so this is a show about nothing. And that's what I've got for this week's intro. Nothing.
Sounds about right. Oh, man, I've been excited to talk about this show. Now, I know after we watched an episode, season 6, episode 8, which, as we learned last year, episode 8 is the Thanksgiving episode of any show,
Yep.
of any season. That's where you'll find it if you're looking for one. This is barely a Thanksgiving episode. It's mostly a normal Seinfeld episode with a backdrop of Thanksgiving. And I hope that's okay. I bent the rules a little bit, but I really just wanted to talk about this show. Not because I'm
Macy's
emotionally...
Thanksgiving Day parade is going on. It's fine.
Yeah, right? It's New York. It's whatever. I have no emotional connection to Seinfeld at all. I remember my parents watching it. Again, this has become a little bit of a refrain here, but I just wasn't. I watched it, but I was a little too young to get it, and I just didn't. It wasn't in my zone at the time. But I do want to know, as we typically do, where you all land on this particular show. Amy, how about you?
So I really like Seinfeld. It's one of those shows that I have probably watched all of, except for like the few episodes that I do not like that I skip when like this like 30 seconds in I go, nope, we're not watching this one. And I love this show. It's funny watching them now, and I'm sure we'll get into it, right? Because like 95% of Seinfeld plots are immediately fixed with a cell phone. And like real easy.
Yeah.
There's a good one in this episode that I'm sure we'll talk about, but there was at one time a Twitter feed that was like modern Seinfeld. And so it would be like, George gets really into crypto and you know what I mean? And like all that stuff. And you said which episode we were watching, and I knew like I technically probably didn't have to watch the episode this week, and I probably could have still just rolled with it.
That's pretty good. I know people like that. Like I have friends that, I said mom and pop store and immediately got John Voight's car texted back at me.
John Voight's car.
They just know. Travis, how about you?
I definitely watched this. Maybe not quite as much as Amy did, but I very much remember watching it, and it was a show that always existed. And while I wouldn't say I got into super fan territory with it, I always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed every time I watched it, and it could very easily be one of those. Just throw it on for background noise and pay attention every so often. Kind of like what we talked about with Friends a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Same idea is like, it can just be running and I can be like, oh yeah, I remember this moment, and then kind of go back to whatever.
And then every now and then you go, ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, that didn't age so well.
Yeah, that didn't work. Audie, where do you land?
So I'm not a fan of Seinfeld. I don't have anything against it. I understand everybody's fandom. It's just, it never hit with me. So, I've seen episodes and stuff, and I've been like, okay, yeah, I get
Mhm.
it, but just never really was something that really did it for me. But still, this was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, and that's perfectly. You know what? I found that you either mostly like it to see and seek it out, or you just don't give a crap about it. Like it doesn't tickle your
Yeah.
funny bone. It's not the jokes
Yeah.
that
Yep.
work for
Hmm.
you. Like my wife, not a fan. She watched this episode with me, and I laughed, and she laughed because she's sweet. But it was not a thing that we're gonna do again. You know,
Yeah.
like, and when I ask people like, "Hey, why is Seinfeld not?" She's like, "They're just terrible people, and I just don't like watching
Well,
who they are and
I
what they
think
do."
I mean, they are, right? I mean, and it's like Always Sunny in Philadelphia takes that like 5 steps further.
Yes.
I think one of the big parts for me though is Elaine because I have always had guy friends. All of my friends have pretty universally been guys. And so to have a character like Elaine who is still like feminine and, she still does girl stuff, but all of her friends are guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was like that was weird representation I didn't know I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a certain like it's sort of not. I'm not necessarily directly comparing these, but something like a Monty Python, where people either love Monty Python or they're like, I
Yeah.
don't get the humor. Seinfeld is like that because there is an absurdity
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
the whole concept of the show that if you don't buy into that idea, then it's just not going to land for you because you're like, these are just terrible people doing terrible things in a city.
Yes.
Whereas you can look at it as like, yeah, they're terrible people, but they're also getting all bent out of shape about the dumbest things for no
Hmm.
reason,
Yeah.
and that's absurd, and I kind of like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Does
totally get it.
does that resonate with you, Audie? Like the absurdity just doesn't match your vibe?
I think it's the idea that it's a show about nothing
Okay.
that doesn't work for me.
There's no
That like,
arc. There's just
I,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like I need more than just, hey, let's say some funny stuff
Mhm.
for it to really hit with me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to pinpoint it, but it just has never been something that I'm like, oh yeah, I need to watch more of this.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Because Travis just described Monty Python like that's not. I can't stretch there. My geek brain doesn't. I have fallen
Hmm.
asleep during every attempt to watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Sir Robin comes along in the Knights of Knee, and I'm out, man. I'm gone. That's as far as I can make it. And I like people are like holy hand grenades and bunnies, and I'm like I don't even know what you're talking about because I
You're like, I
slept
haven't
through
gotten that far.
all of that.
Yeah.
And I think it is funny. It's like a British absurdity versus American absurdity, and I can
I get
handle.
accused a lot of not liking stand-up comedians, but that is
Oh
not true. I don't like Americans. Like for the most part, American stand-up comedians do not do it for me. British
wow!
stand-up comedians have about a 95% hit rate.
Let's see, and it's
I
I've
don't.
I've
It's
heard
just
there's different schools of humor in America and Britain. Britain's very self-deprecating. American's very wise guy. It's the way Stephen
yeah,
Fry described it. He
sure.
was like Brits are hard
Hmm.
on ourselves, and that's what makes us think we're funny, while Americans want to be the smartest person in the room with the
Yeah.
snappiest joke. And I don't
Well,
know if
if you
that.
think about what are the but if you think about what are the major markets for stand-up comedy in the U.S., New York and L.A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
What
absolutely.
kind of people live
Yeah.
in New York and LA? Those
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah,
people.
those kinds
And
of
they're going to be
people.
the ones observing
Hmm.
that type of life in those areas.
Hmm.
That's why, like, stand up comedians from Canada, I tend to really
Oh
like.
yeah, I
There's
do like
something about
Canadians.
Canadian comedians that works because there's a little bit of that self deprecation there. Ryan
Hmm.
Reynolds, while not a stand up comedian, has that going,
Oh
right?
yeah, he's.
You listen to him in interviews, he's always very self deprecating and it's hilarious
Hmm.
because it's
Like
like, okay, you're good
Letterkenny isn't
looking
Yeah,
Letterkenny
Letterkenny.
isn't
and
that far from Seinfeld,
Yeah,
really.
right.
yeah, you're
I
right.
mean,
They're very
truthfully,
similar. They have some parallels.
Yeah, yeah, and it like
Letterkenny is like if you took the limiter off of Seinfeld,
Yeah.
yes,
but
yeah.
put him in Canada, like,
Oh yeah.
and took the limiter off. That's what you get, and it
Seinfeld on
and it works.
HBO instead of Seinfeld on broadcast
Network,
TV. It's
yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is what it ends
Hmm.
up becoming. It's the same jam.
Mhm.
And with stand up
Which is
comedy,
funny
like
because
it's. Oh, go ahead.
Letterkenny, I'm like, with Letterkenny, I'm like, that's hilarious. I'm all
It's
about
so
that
funny.
Mm-hmm.
compared to Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, I think, is also pretty dated
Yeah.
now.
Oh
Like, it
yeah.
is very
Yeah.
squarely in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if
we're
you
talking about
didn't
a show that
Sure.
began in what, 1989? Like,
Yes. Yeah. 89 to 98 is Seinfeld's run. It was a whole 10 seasons, which I need to go ahead and point out for my brother in law, Jacob. It was 10 seasons. I was wrong at bar trivia when I thought it was 7. And he insisted it was 10, and I insisted it was 7. And guess who took the answer up? Me. Guess who lost?
Oh,
Us.
boy.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go there. I said it publicly on the internet forever, Jacob. I was wrong. You were right. He'll never let me live it down. I hear it every time I see him now.
No.
How many seasons were in Seinfeld, Stephen? 10.
10.
Jacob, I'm sorry. I think Seinfeld turned down $7 million an episode when he decided to bounce from the show, which is where I got the 7 from. But no one cares. That was still wrong, no matter what my justification is of where that number came from.
Yeah.
But Seinfeld, famously written by Larry David with Jerry Seinfeld in the lead. Jerry Seinfeld is a joke guy. He's a stand-up comedian. Funny enough, I'm not that big a fan of Jerry's Seinfeld
It's fine.
stand-up. It's fine. They're decent jokes, but like you throw Jeff Foxworthy at me and I'm howling because that's the culture
Yeah.
I grew up in, right? It's a different,
Mhm.
but I didn't grow up in Seinfeld's, observational humor. I think it's great. I'm just not like guffawing about it. But he's fine, and he does a good job in this show. Larry David writes the show. They figured out as a team, Jerry Seinfeld could write jokes. Larry David could construct a story, and I think that's where this show really finds its magic. It's like you pick a thing, and you focus on that thing, and then you build something outlandish around the thing.
Yeah.
And that's a recipe for awesome. Like it's kind of like the show my son loves and I love. I'm not ashamed of it. The Amazing World of Gumball on Cartoon Network.
Yes.
It's a cartoon. They pick something and they build a 15-minute episode of cartoon around it, and it's amazing. And it just works because
And
you
then
can just dive and pick it apart, go crazy.
Seinfeld always has like a bunch of little subplots, and then at
Yes.
some point they just like collide into each other.
Which which is the why I think I like Seinfeld. Like when I don't watch a lot of sitcoms from the 90s, this one
Yeah.
works for me because I have this respect for that level of artistry. Like it
Yeah.
was just what it really
Mhm.
is. You're taking this collection of really weird subplots and stories, and then somewhere in the episode they're gonna come together, and you don't even know like what pieces. At least in this episode, I
Yeah,
was
they're either
blown
going to
away.
come together or they're going to like violently go in
Yes.
opposite directions. And you're like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what's happening.
Or just
Mhm.
stay compartmentalized to some degree. It just depends on what they could do that week. And this one, I almost made a dang puzzle chart of how these things flowed back in and out of each other until they came back together there at the end at Tim Watley's apartment.
Mhm.
But a little bit more about Seinfeld. If you're unfamiliar with the show, it's on Netflix, and you should watch it. Give it a try. But one of the things I love about it is Larry David had a no hugging, no learning policy, which today might not seem super cynical in today's age. But in the 90s, when you're going up against Full House and Step by Step and your TGIF fodder, this
Yep.
is unheard of.
Mhm.
That no one would learn anything. Every character had to basically exit an episode having learned no life lessons, no morals, nobody hugs. Everybody's just a disaster from episode 1, season 1 to the very end of the series. And I
It's true.
love that concept because it
Yeah.
gives you it doesn't limit you. Like how many times does a series over the seasons kind of write themselves into a corner with a character? Oh, well, like he's not going to do that again,
Right.
But here we
But
are
they
with
will always
Seinfeld.
make the same mistakes.
Yeah,
No
every
problem.
time. Nobody's gonna ever learn anything.
No.
I thought that was really cool. A factoid I learned about Jerry Seinfeld, which I didn't need to read, but it was nice seeing it established in word form. Jerry Seinfeld cannot act.
No.
I knew that
Yeah.
watching the show, but like having someone go ahead and nail down, yeah, he can't do it. So the producers were so worried about his ability to carry the show because he can't act that they mandated that classically trained actors would back him up, which is where you get George Costanza, who's played by Jason Alexander, who is a Broadway trained. Like he teaches
Mhm.
Broadway play acting today. That's what
Yeah.
he does. It's kind of like the show and his role in Pretty Woman were just like offshoots of his day
Yeah.
job. Um,
Right.
and you can kind of tell that. And he's remarkable on screen. Like he should be in more things, but I think his passion is the play, is theater. And I
I
don't know
think it's
where
kind of
He's
twofold
a
there, right?
Tony Award winner.
he should
Yeah.
be.
I mean,
He's so good.
I think it's honestly a little twofold because we've talked about this quite a bit. He to a lot of people he is George and he will always be George and he can't
Yep.
escape that.
Yeah.
But also because he has this love of the stage and this Tony Award winning career on the stage and teaching and all that, he doesn't have to worry about that. He can just sit back, collect residual checks for Seinfeld and keep doing the thing he loves doing, which is acting on stage, which is
I love
great.
he did he was the voice of one of the gargoyles in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is always like
Yep.
underrated Disney film. I love
Very
that
much.
movie.
Mhm.
That movie goes so hard for a
Wait.
It
Disney
really does.
film.
Wait, I haven't seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Really?
Oh
Okay, we're
man.
gonna fix that. Don't
We're
worry.
gonna find you the put it on the
'Cause,
list, man,
'cause-
because count
because
the
I've only seen clips.
Oh, snap.
boys. All right, we're doing because I love this film and this
Ooh.
movie. It has no right to go so far, but Jason Alexander does it, and he sings, and he's I mean, he's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. He's fantastic in everything I've seen him in. And then you got Julia
Mhm.
Louis-Dreyfus, who I don't know where she come from before this. I didn't do my research like I should have. But she's flipping great, and honestly the best one on the show in my mind. Like I just love watching her work. Is the mannerisms and stuff she uses, just the things it's a full body performance. It's always so good. Um
Thanks.
and then you got Michael Richards playing Kramer, which you watch episode 1 of Seinfeld and you can see the roots of the Kramer, but you got to really get in a few seasons before
Yeah.
he like really they get the whole gamut, the sliding through the doorway, the pants up high, the hair all over the place. They really build that character over time a little bit, and he's fantastic. I don't know anybody else that could play like that. Um, and yeah, it's just stacked wonderful and then you got the off players like Jerry Stiller in this as George's dad. We didn't get to see them this episode, which is really unfortunate. And Wayne Knight is Newman. Like everybody loves that.
Yeah.
When Newman and Kramer team up to do anything, it's just the best. It's just total chaos.
The Mother's Day mail scheme is the bottle return extra truck Mother's Day.
That's going on my list because I don't know that I've ever seen that one.
Oh, it's a good one.
I've seen plenty, but that's going on the list. So Larry David, if you're unfamiliar with his work, Curb Your Enthusiasm, he's on that show. He writes that show. It's basically Seinfeld 2 with no rules, and he's playing himself.
Yeah.
Where George Costanza is the Larry David avatar on Seinfeld. He just plays himself on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I've heard things about Larry David. He's an interesting character. I don't think he has an empathy gene anywhere in his brain or body. Like it doesn't exist. I heard one person was I can't remember the interview I heard this on, but he said he went to Larry David, said, "Let's meet for dinner." And he goes to meet Larry David for dinner. He gets there and Larry's finishing dinner. Like he's got an empty plate. And he says, I just got in here early, so I went ahead and ate. I'll catch you next time. And just bounces. Like that's the kind of person that I would not be friends with him. It would wreck me. It would be, and that's okay. And apparently, a lot of people can't be friends with him because he was uninvited from meetings with the producers at NBC for this show because he was so volatile and wouldn't take notes or suggestions or anything at all from anyone ever. He was fired from Saturday Night Live as a writer because he was kind of a tool to work with. Everybody was just like, no, that guy's a jerk. Which is saying something because there's a lot of jerks in show business. So if you could be a jerk to show business people, then, you got that going. Another fun fact about Seinfeld, this was a time when we got the whole song and dance for an intro for a show. We talked about themes a lot on this show where you had a song and it would play the characters, the full credit roll and everything.
Yeah.
Seinfeld does not do that. And it was one of the first shows to not do that. When they just start off with his comedy and a rolling cast across the screen, and they don't even bother with a big theme song. There was a lot of debate over the future of credits at the beginning of televisions because of this show. They were like, "Are they going away? What are we gonna do? How is this? This is gonna change everything." And it kind of did. We don't have theme songs like we used to. Even back then, we had some. Home Improvement we talked about was kind of had a theme you recognized, but it didn't have a song. There was no like lyrics or anything. And this was just had the.
It wasn't like the Greatest American.
Yeah, I was about to
Hero.
say none of them are hitting
Sure.
the charts.
None of them are landing on the
Yeah, or
chart.
Other than
even
Friends.
Friends. Yeah, that was the outlier at that point.
Right, yeah. This was just a bass line. And I don't even think it was a real bass. I think it was a synthesizer that everybody thinks was a slap bass. I remember I read that
Could be.
somewhere. But, we can look that up later. But anyway, we could get into the episode and talk a little bit about what actually happened on the mom and pop store. Does anybody else have anything to add about the Seinfeld run before we dive in?
Oh, let's go.
Okay, let's go. So the show started. So every show starts with Seinfeld doing his routine, and it kind of leads into what we're gonna see. And this was jokes about car manufacturers naming their cars, and the LeBaron, which I didn't know was a car model. So this joke didn't really land for me because I didn't know anything
So-
about the car.
We talked about we did Classic Concentration as a
Yeah.
game show back here.
Mhm,
I used to play the computer version, and at the end you did the car matching, and LeBaron is on there, so I
Yep.
knew. And then there's a terrible Adult Swim cartoon called Tom Goes to the Mayor. They talk about LeBaron, and then there's a little song they do, and that just runs through my head just rent free.
So that's how you were
Pretty
aware
much
of
I
the
every
think-
time I
LeBaron.
hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew of the LeBaron, and I think also there's a Cake song that might reference it.
Oh,
was gonna
I think
say,
it's
yeah.
Short Skirt, Long
It's-
Jacket.
Yeah.
No,
She
No.
going the
Or
distance.
no.
Going the Distance has a LeBaron.
No,
No.
Oh no, you're
well,
right. Short skirt, long
it's
jacket.
it's Short Skirt, Long Jacket, and they
Yeah.
mention she's driving a white Chrysler LeBaron or something like that.
Okay.
Aaron.
Plus,
Gosh,
it was
I love
also my
Cake.
second favorite ever La name for a car.
What's the
Okay,
first?
because there was the Chrysler LeBaron, but Buick made LeSabre,
Sabre.
Oh, LeSabre. Yeah.
and I always liked Buick's The Sword.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, the
I had one
LeBaron.
of those for a short
Did,
while.
did you really? Hey,
A LeSabre. It was
Good.
It was a boat.
That's good stuff. My mom had a Chrysler, but it wasn't a LeBaron. But it did have a burgundy interior because every car had a
Nice.
burgundy interior in the night. They were ugly. Burgundy interiors were not good then. They're not
Not
good
good.
now. It's awful. Red. Why red? Probably to hide cigarette stains. or something.
We
But
had
specifically burgundy, it's that deep
Yeah.
red.
Like
I had a friend
brownish.
in college who had I believe it was a Chrysler, some kind of boat with like the velvet,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the like
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
big bench seats. So I'm like, yeah, this was a ride.
Oh,
You could
yeah.
fit 30 college kids in that thing.
Oh yeah.
We
you
had
could.
a Plymouth Voyager, if you remember the Plymouth Voyager, the minivan,
yeah.
and it was
We had that too.
burgundy. It was burgundy inside and out.
Nice.
It was burgundy paint with a burgundy. How much burgundy can you fit into one car?
Wear my burgundy
And the
velvet
answer
suit
is
in my
That
burgundy.
much
Yeah.
burgundy.
It's a lot.
Perfect.
It had to be like it dissipated the nicotine stains or something. Like there had to be a reason.
I'm
they
sure.
did that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was.
Phil in the chat says he drove a LeBaron. First car he ever bought himself. Good for you. So yeah, they discontinued LeBaron in 1994. And this episode aired, I guess it would have been in 95, 96. So it was on its way out anyway. But we start off with George at the car dealer. He's all set to buy an 89 Volvo until the dealer says, well, do you want this 89 LeBaron convertible? He's like, no. Oh, he says NI, no interest. Was that a thing like in the 90s? Did people say NI?
Oh, I think that was George.
Just because I've heard
Yeah,
it.
it's just a George thing.
I heard it was also a line in The House Guest with Sinbad. You remember that? Well, the mobster
yeah.
Really?
yelled. Yeah, the mobster would say NI, no interest, no interest.
Now, I'll point out that here in the Northeast, we don't. If you only have one car, you do not do a convertible
Oh,
because a
No.
cloth top does
Oh.
not keep the warm in
No.
at all.
This was a bad move when
Yep.
you're in New York
It's a
City.
bad move.
Yeah, so he wouldn't have bought it, except the dealer says, well, it was John Voight's car. Oh, really? So now we get our first thread we're going to follow, and that's John Voight's car. We go a bit back to Jerry's, and they're talking to, he and Elaine is there, and they're talking about Tim Watley's pre-Thanksgiving party. Tim Watley famously played played by Bryan Cranston, who you might know as Heisenberg, or Walter White from Breaking Bad, or Malcolm in the Middle's dad. I don't remember his name. But yeah, this was one of his earliest big TV roles, was on Seinfeld as a recurring character of Tim Watley,
And
the
this was
dentist.
his first appearance.
Was this his? It wasn't the dentist thing with the taking the hit
Apparently
off
this
the
was
stuff. Okay.
This was apparently his first appearance as Tim Watley.
Oh, that explains why he's
there you
not
go.
quite as crazy. You know, because when
Yeah.
he did the Jerry
He
Dennis
definitely
thing,
goes off the rails.
yeah, he goes wild.
By
But
the way,
yeah.
quick backtrack.
Sure, yeah.
Because I found this little factoid to be interesting was apparently the car thing with John Voight's car is inspired by an actual thing with the writers of this particular episode. The guy Tom Gamble had a Chrysler LeBaron that he thought was John Voight's LeBaron, and according to this, a lot of the banter between Jerry and George are from Tom and his writing partner Max, who didn't think that it was John Voight's LeBaron. So that happened a lot. And then, of course, they get him. We'll talk about, but they get him for the episode, which I thought was brilliant. So yeah, this is based on an actual thing where
It's so
somebody
good.
thought they bought John Voight's Chrysler LeBaron.
Wait,
So
so this is so meta because we'll get to it, right? And George is going to send out the entire Yankee organization to figure this out. So instead, he just used his entire network sitcom to find out if he had John
Yeah,
Voight's car.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Brilliant. I
Talk about-
love that.
This is why some people are successful, because they can just everything that happens is content. Everything is content.
Yep.
So we're back with Jerry and Elaine. Elaine tells Jerry, or I guess Jerry gives Tim Watley the address for Elaine and his friends for the big pre-Thanksgiving party. So Elaine's
Yeah,
all
because
pumped.
Tim called
Yeah, so she's gonna be
asking
invited.
for Elaine's address.
Because Elaine wants to go on a date with Tim Watley, which who
Heck
can
yeah.
blame her? I mean, he's a fancy looking fella.
You don't want to date a dentist.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they're gonna be judging your brushing.
You're brushing.
Yeah, your weird brushing. So Jerry's not a big fan of it, but whatever. But just like it happens, George swings in the door like, he owns the place. Because who knocks? It's not important.
Yeah.
Jerry just
Who
comes
locks
in.
a door in New York City?
Yeah, and this isn't the first time I've seen the open the door, jingle the keys
Yeah.
routine on Seinfeld, because this happened when Elaine got an apartment, I think, once, and
Yep.
everybody's like, look at what I got, So
Yep.
George swings in, and they ask, hey, you got the Volvo? He says, no, I got an 89 LeBaron. What? Why? That's crazy. It was John Voight's car. Elaine says John Voight didn't even. Did he even never even drove a car?
Seen him in a car. Look at his movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Which
already
I love
knowing.
that that's the reference point.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
his movies. Obviously, he doesn't own a car.
He
By
doesn't
the way,
own a
if
car.
George had bought the 89 Volvo, I'm just saying that if he had bought that car, it would still be
I was
on
about
the
to
road
say it's to be
today.
running
It'd still
for
be going.
sure.
They
It would
aren't
have,
much
a,
to
it would have
look
just
at.
the road
600,000
salt.
mile. Yeah, it'd
The
have
road salt being on
600,000
the
miles
front.
on it, but it
Yeah.
would still start.
Yes.
For
Those
sure.
things are
Yeah.
bulletproof.
The frame is rusted, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They
Still
aren't.
runs.
They aren't
Runs
pretty
good.
cars, but they go.
Mhm.
So we have that deal, and then Kramer swings in. So that's thread 2 is Tim Watley's party. So we got
Mhm.
that going on, and now we've got Kramer swinging in to tell Jerry that the mom and pop shoe store up the street is going to go out of business unless they get some clientele, and they're going to be replaced by coffee and cookie stores. Cookie stores. To which George responds that he likes cookies, and who doesn't?
Mhm.
But still, this is Walmart's taking over every grocery store in America era.
Yeah.
Like, you don't
Mhm.
remember that you did have a Piggly Wiggly, and sometimes just Mom's Grocer, at the corner.
Mhm.
We don't have that no more.
Yeah.
So Kramer wasn't wrong. So he wants to convince Jerry, like, you got to go patronize this shop. And Jerry's like, I don't have, like, I got all sneakers. He's like, well, they do detailing. Oh, detail my sneakers? Sure, whatever, Kramer. Go get my shoes detailed. So that's, now we're at thread number 3 of comedy. So we've got the mom and pop shop.
Yep.
And also, so next up, Kramer goes down the mom and pop store with Jerry sneakers, and there are definitely dress shoes in that box. I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but I saw at
Yeah.
least 2 pairs of dress shoes in there. Those
Yeah.
weren't sneakers.
Yeah.
But Kramer talks to mom and pop like they're his best friends, because they're like, oh, we care about you. He gets a nosebleed, which is another thread that goes through this show, and he's like, I need to lay down.
Well, they tell him to lay down and put his head back, which is, as we all learned in elementary school, that's wrong.
Yeah,
It's
don't
head
do that.
forward.
Yeah.
Head forward, not back. And then this whole part is solved.
Yeah. you don't want the blood to
This
go.
whole thread quietly reserved.
Nobody
Just,
wants
no, you
to,
got it out, not in.
yeah,
No, it's
out of the
bad.
face, not down the
Out of the
throat. You're gonna
face.
taste
Very
iron
bad.
for the next hour.
Mhm.
Gross.
No.
You can't even
No.
get that out with a good bag of Doritos. You're still gonna taste it. Terrible. So Kramer lays back on this chair, which this got an audience response that didn't seem like anyone was ready for when he hits his head on the armrest.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what about it shocked me, but they didn't talk about it. It was like almost an accident, and they just left it in because everybody in the audience goes, "Ooh,"
It's entirely possible that it wasn't
Yeah.
scripted for him
I
to
don't
actually do that.
Just roll.
I don't
Yeah.
think that was
And-
scripted.
No.
And there's something later on that I won't reveal yet was also unscripted. but
Oh, okay.
Continue.
All right. Okay, good. So Kramer points out while he's at the mom and pop shop, they got bad electric wires. Now mom and pop are a time bomb. He's like, this place is you're gonna get that checked out, So now we've got mom and pop are being told that their whole place is a problem. Then we cut back over to Elaine, where we're gonna get another thread where Elaine's removing the salt from pretzel sticks.
Right. So it's one of my favorite Elaine plot bits, because she was like she was like not being respected at her publishing job, where she was an editor, and like things were falling apart. And then Mr. Pitt, who's like real, money and power and all this, and is like, oh, he compares her to Jackie O, and it's a whole thing. And then he's like, come be my assistant. And she's like, oh yeah, take this job and shove it. And then next thing you know, she's picking salt off of pretzel rods and trying to buy him the perfect pair of socks, and none of them are correct. And it's just yeah. Yeah,
She definitely has the I'm not trying energy, but I don't really care energy. So is that kind of the okay? That makes sense then,
because
like,
he's just
who is this
crazy.
guy? Okay,
Like he's just crazy,
clearly.
but he's got a lot of money, so
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, shoot, that sounds like a good gig to me.
Yeah.
So she's picking the pretzel salt off these pretzel sticks. Listens to Big Band on the radio, and he's like, "What on earth are you doing?" And she explains that she listened to Big Band with her dad, and it was great, and she knew the names of the songs. They find out there's a radio contest to name the song will earn you the right to hold the Woody Woodpecker ropes at the Thanksgiving parade. And Mr. Pitt is like, "We have to do this." She's like, "Why?"
Again.
And he says, "Yeah." Go ahead.
Another plot point that is 100% negated by a cell phone.
Yes, it's not a problem.
Siri, what song is this? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Right.
you're right. Which is funny because the song that she mentions, "Next Stop Pottersville," is actually not the name of that song. That song is actually in real life the Sliding Mr. Bones. So
Which is so much better.
yeah, it's a good. "Next Stop Pottersville" is not even an actual song anyone wrote ever at any time.
Yeah.
You will not find that in the radio catalog of all songs ever written, unless I.
Okay, so this was bothering me as I was watching this scene because Mr. Pitt, who I've obviously seen in Seinfeld, but I couldn't figure out why he looked so familiar to me.
Uh-huh.
And now I know why, because he was the old wise man in Army of Darkness.
Oh, geez.
And I never have made that connection before.
Wow.
It just happened right now, and I short-circuited for a second.
That's
Yeah.
good facial recognition because I don't even remember what the wise man looked like in Army of Darkness, and I love that movie. That's the one that told Ash the Klaatu Verata Niktu, right?
Yep.
Use
Yes.
the 3
You
words.
have to be very specific with the words.
Which he totally remembered.
Hmm?
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
so Elaine figures out the song. She wins Mr. Pitt the tickets for the to hold the rope for the Woody Woodpecker, which I loved because he said my father forbade me from participating in any
Yes.
activities associated with the common man. It's like that's so good. Forbade
So
me.
good.
So after that, we go back to George and Jerry. They're going to look at the car, but Jerry's definitely giving him crap about there's no way this is John Voight's car. To get another plot rolling or to continue the mom and pop store plot, Jerry has to find a way to not have shoes. So he steps in gum. George says, "You cannot get in my car with gum on your shoe." And then we follow this thread a little bit. They go back up to change shoes. Jerry's, "Let me go get a new pair." There aren't any because Kramer
Fair
took
enough.
them all. So Kramer comes in. He's like, "Where are all my shoes?" He said, "I took them down to mom and pop like you told me to, and I left a pair for you." Go back to Jerry's closet, come out with a pair of cowboy boots. Good old ropers, you know? I mean, they're nice. They're
Mhm.
nice looking boots, but Jerry's he's not gonna wear those.
No.
He says he only has them because a club in Texas paid him in boots because they couldn't afford
Yeah.
to actually pay him. They just
Yeah.
gave him money. Said you'll be like a cow. Kramer says you'll be like a cowboy. And Jerry's, "I don't want to be a cowboy." And this
Which is the throwback.
to the I don't
Yep.
want to be a
I
pirate.
don't want to be the pirate.
Yeah, with the puffy shirt.
The puffy shirt.
And this is the part where that whole Jerry Seinfeld can't act thing comes front and center to
yeah.
me
Yeah.
because he is smiling while delivering this line. Like he's laughing at
Yeah.
his own
Oh,
joke.
yeah.
And I noticed that throughout the show, anytime I've ever watched it, that Jerry is often smiling when he should be irritated
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
sad. Like he's not in the moment. He's in the joke. He's having a great
Yep.
time. And no one and we just accept it. We just don't even
Yeah,
care.
it's fine.
You're like, I'm
Because
having fun
like you
too.
said, everyone else is so good. Like
Yeah.
Jason Alexander is going so hard, it does not matter. No one
Exactly.
cares what Jerry's doing. Jerry's the
Mhm.
least interesting person there.
Yeah.
And it's his show.
And the funny thing is, like, I have
Although
tried to act before in front of a
Yeah.
kid. Like, I was gonna be a filmmaker when I was in like high school or whatever. I can't stop smiling either. I have Jerry Seinfelditis. I was supposed to be in a horror movie. I was running for my life, smiling like an idiot the whole time. Like it's just not in me to look serious, and I don't think he's got it either. Audie, you were gonna
No.
say something. I cut
I-
you off.
I was gonna say it did get me though when he was putting on the boots and said, "I look ridiculous." I was like, "Well, with your pants up to your knees like that, of course you do."
Yeah, you're definitely leading into trying to look ridiculous. Everybody knows the pants go over
Mhm.
the boots unless you're fording a creek. You know.
Which if you don't, I mean, it was the 90s. If you're not
Yeah,
wearing
that's
the
true.
bootcut jeans, which, random
Yeah.
dude in New York maybe is not,
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's a
That you
problem.
Well, you
really
need
They're
to
need
wear
not
some
some
of
big,
that.
they're
bootcut
not
jeans.
narrow enough to look okay tucked in, and they're not wide
Right.
enough to go over the boots.
Yeah.
You're done.
He
This was not
he
the
needed
plan.
slim fit or he needed some Jinko jeans.
Yeah.
One or the
There
other.
you go.
But he didn't have.
If you didn't have boot cut, it really did make your pants look ridiculous at the bottom because the boots
Mhm.
would puff them out so far that it
Yeah.
didn't look right. You're right. Yeah. So this is when Jerry finds out that George also got invited to Tim Watley's party and he didn't. So he's like, I don't understand this. But there was a joke early as about the genius of it. They've thrown that out a couple times in this adventure. But anyway, we go back to Mom and Pop where we're gonna line up some more jokes. Where the electrician has come by, it's like, I gotta close you up unless you fix this problem. It was what, $20,000, $2,000, or $20,000, something.
$4,000.
$4,000. I was so close.
You were.
Yeah, so $4,000
there.
to solve the problem. They're like, we don't have $4,000. We've been here 48 years. Like, I don't care. I got to shut you down or I lose my license. And then Kramer swings in to tell them they ought to fix their crack in their sidewalk. So he's trying to help Mom and Pop and is actually just ruining their life. Then we go Jerry and George finally going for a ride in the car where they find John Voight's pencil in the glove compartment, maybe, with his teeth marks on it. So George is
Mhm.
just tickled to death. I got John Voight's pencil, When George, this is what I love about George. Anytime he thinks he's like succeeding or winning at something, he gets
Yeah.
exceptionally more cocky about
Hmm.
everything
Oh yeah.
around
I like
him.
the discussion they have about like, yeah, but why John Voight? Like,
Yeah.
why would you make that up? That's the
Mhm.
genius of it,
Yeah,
which
right.
comes back around.
It could
Yep.
be Liam Neeson's car, that was the
Yeah,
other bit.
yeah.
Uh
But he's not even American.
yeah, he's not even American. Anybody could have played Oscar Schindler. Uh
Mhm.
so they find John Voight's pencil and they find the owner's manual and it says John Voight, but John is spelled with an H. So John Voight is, and George gets a little bothered. He's like, ah, crap. You can see the realization hit because Jason Alexander is a master of his craft. You can see it hit, but then also the denial is also playing on his face at the same time. It's wild. It's a
Yep.
realization and a complete denial that that's probably fake because I
We're
want to
committing
believe
to the bit.
the
Yeah.
reality
Hmm.
Mhm.
that this is John Voight's car. And he gives Jerry enough crap that he gives George enough crap that George kicks him out of the car. And he's all the while he's going, "That's Gregory Peck's bicycle." He's just convinced everywhere. So he gets out.
Ah,
Uh, he's got the cowboy boots on. Some thugs are there. They're like, "Hey, cowboy!" And he tries to run away, but his boots are so slick. Honestly, Jerry, because you don't know how to work boots. If you've never worn
yeah,
boots, they're gonna be slick. You got to scuff them up, buddy.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
you'll be
Mhm.
fine.
I mean,
But
to be fair, in
Mhm.
his defense, he never planned on wearing
Oh
them,
no, he never
so
planned on
it's
wearing
fine.
'em.
Right.
But you gotta
Yeah.
scuff them up before you go
You do
out
gotta
walking
scuff
in
them
'em.
up.
So he runs away, and the next thing we see is him in his kitchen with like getting some ice with Elaine, saying, "They ever caught me? I just tripped and hit my face." So which is gonna take us down another alley. Which is
Yeah.
this is my favorite thing about the show. It's just everything is piling on top of each other. So he tripped and hurt his face. George's still trying to figure out why he's still trying to convince everybody that he's got John Voight's car. Maybe he just spells it with an H in his legal name, but he's shortened it
Yeah.
because
He
John
goes,
is snappier.
snappier.
It's
He
like
goes,
John and
how
John.
can
Mhm.
how can I figure this out? And now this is 30 seconds with a cell phone.
Yep,
Yep.
Problem
you're
solved.
right.
IMDb handled.
Yeah, got it. Uh, then Elaine, they're still trying to figure out if Jerry's invited to this party. Elaine has talked to Tim and he had asked if Jerry should bring anything. And they wanted to know where the emphasis was on why would Jerry bring anything? So like, why would Jerry bring anything? Or why would Jerry
Or why would
bring any
Jerry
or
bring anything?
bring anything? And she said the thing he was on the wood. Why would Jerry bring anything? And this is when she was just my favorite actress on the planet. I just love her in this whole everything about this show. I don't know why I wrote it in my notes, but I wrote Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the best in this scene. So something must have clued me in
Mhm,
to like this is amazing.
mhm.
And then we find out that Mom and Pop have skipped town. Kramer comes in, it's like they're gone. The place is empty. And you know what I found out? Mom and Pop didn't even have any kids. To which Jerry responds, "Mom and Pop weren't even a mom and pop." I love this scene because Elaine has to point out the elaborate conspiracy
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
that
Move into the neighborhood, establish a nearly 5 decades to build trust, and then steal Jerry's sneakers.
yep, it's a good con.
George is going to mobilize the entire Yankee organization to
That's
find out, though, if John Voight changed how he spelled his name.
right. This is what I love about it. So Elaine's got to go down to the deli to pick up the pass for the ropes. George splits up to go to the Yankees because he's got the power of the Yankees organization to solve this problem. Where he pitches John Voight Day as something to do where
Which
they. Oh, go ahead.
the response to that is
So
so
good.
perfect.
Mhm.
John Voight,
Oh yeah.
John Voight, the actor. Hmm. I motion we no longer take any meetings called for by George Costanza.
I mean, yeah. I don't even know how George has a job there. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, that's the best part about that job. He has that job because of Steinbrenner, who is
Hmm.
just Yeah. Every now and then he just like there's the whole sandwich thing, and that keeps him in a job. He mostly manages to just stay just enough under the radar that they don't get rid of him.
So,
You
it's
don't have to
so
pay him
perfect.
severance.
So that doesn't go well. Elaine goes to the place to have the meeting with to get her stuff, but she's got to listen to a big band before they hand out the passes, and she's sitting with these
The
guys.
other people are so good.
They're so
Yes.
good. I just believe this scene with everything in me that these are the types of people that would call into a big band radio to do the thing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And she's stuck there
For
with them.
sure.
Then we get one of my favorite moments, which I think Travis has got a tidbit about. When John Voight shows up in the episode, because Kramer's walking down the street, gets a nosebleed, and out the door walks John Voight, rocking this killer like horseshoe mustache. Like, I mean, he's got it going on.
It was really good.
Yeah. And to which Kramer just, my favorite thing about Kramer is when he yells anything at anybody. It's just so intense. John Voight,
Yeah.
John Voight, chases him down the street
Mm-hmm.
and tries to catch him so he can ask him the question, to when John Voight bites Kramer's arm. It doesn't, it's not even like Kramer's got his arm where he can get it. John Voight actively reaches for Kramer's arm, pulls it further into the cab, and bites it like a dang turkey leg.
Yeah.
And I love that moment because like it's John Voight, he's getting into the cab. Meanwhile, this crazy man on the street who's bleeding from his face just screams his name and runs at him. So he grabs his arm and bites him. Apparently, he didn't tell Michael Richards that that's what he was going to do. So that reaction was real. Like him trying to pull his arm back was just Michael Richards'
Amazing.
reaction because he just bit his arm. That cracked me
it
up.
Even more hilarious. I mean, just the fact that of all the things an actor like John Voight could do, he decides to bite the arm of this random person.
I mean, I've seen Anaconda. James, he can stretch, John Voight
Yeah.
knows what's up. I do question this trivia, though. I hate to question the trivia, but I read the same tidbit, and I was like, that's so funny. And I was like, did Michael Richards have the second half of the script of the show with the teeth?
Episode, because like it's pretty pivotal to the rest of the plot.
Because the teeth, I know, and I think the trivia came from a writer of the show or someone that was involved. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Maybe did they write it as they went? What was the deal?
They
here?
just did they filmed the John Voight part first.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I mean,
Like, we'll just
Oh,
see
wait,
what
it's
could
happens.
be.
entirely possible.
That
It is.
yeah.
I just found it as like a really, really funny little tidbit. That, and then they did ask John Voight if he ever owned
Yeah.
the Chrysler LeBaron, and he
Yeah.
said he's never seen the car before in his life. So
That was the best. I'm gonna get I'm gonna
So
write a
good.
show just to see if I can get John Voight to answer this stupid question. Solve
Answer
this
this
once and
stupid
for all,
question.
John Voight.
It's so good. I want to be. This is my new Like, I just want to be a powerful enough podcaster that I can like have people on to just answer stupid questions for me
just
that I can't find
just
on
to
Google.
settle the
Like,
debate.
please settle
for
a
me.
bet. I just
Yeah. I've always wondered. There's your show title. I've always
That's
wondered
my
with Amy
show.
Frost.
I've
Yep.
always wondered.
Just have random people.
Wondered.
It doesn't have to be long.
Yeah.
It could be a micro
No.
podcast,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've just wanted to know.
Yeah.
So we get back to Jerry. His mouth is killing him. He needs to see a dentist, but they're all closed on Thanksgiving. I
'Cause
feel
of-
this
yeah.
pain. I've been here
I've been
before.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Every time. It's always it's always like Friday afternoon of a long weekend, and you're like, well, great, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Fine.
Your body's like, now's a good time to start bleeding from the eyeballs, right? Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great
Cool.
time. Let's do that on
Cool.
Thanksgiving. So Jerry needs to go to Tim Watley's party because there's going to be a bunch of dentists at the party. Brilliant. George doesn't want to take him because George has an invitation, but that's not cool to take a party crasher. He's like, what if you weren't invited and he doesn't want you there? Then I'm the guy that brought you. Every friend's been in that position before. Look, my other friends
But I
like
mean-
me.
If you like, it's Tim Watley's Thanksgiving Eve party, which presumably Jerry has been to before.
Yeah.
So I feel like the fact that like I don't think any of his friends would have to be like, oh no, I'm not taking you as my plus what like he would just know like it's not like it's secret.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
like
He knows about
it's
it.
the same day every year.
I mean, Tim Watley called him to get the addresses of the
Yeah.
people he was going to
Which
invite.
is that's a hell of a move.
Yeah, that's bold.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
I am not gonna invite you, but I do need to invite your friends because I
Yeah.
do like them.
Problem solved with a cell phone once again. Uh, so Kramer shows up. He slides in the door with teeth marks in his arm because of John Voight. And I was proud of myself. I put this together before the show told me what they were going to do. I was like, oh, they're
Nice.
going to compare the teeth marks on the arm with the pencil
Mhm.
because I'm a genius. I can
Mhm.
follow this show.
I just like that Kramer's like, we get a trained professional.
Because they're all going to be at the dentist party.
They're all gonna be at the dentist party.
Perfect. They just
Mhm.
need a dentist to verify
My-
the pencil marks.
My favorite line from Kramer was when George was asking, "He bit you?" He's like, "Well, I was reaching in. It did seem like I was stealing his wallet."
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
justified.
Justified.
Kramer's like, he was justified in biting my arm. It's fine.
Yeah, because normal people
It's
bite
like
other
it's like
people.
when like the cat scratches you. And
Yeah.
you're like, no, I tried to pick it up. I shouldn't I wasn't reading the signs. I should have
Right.
backed off. That's
Mhm.
on me. It's like dealing with a wild animal.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was John Voight.
You got your bandages
Which, I
wrapped
mean, it's
all
John
around
Voight,
your
so
arm.
it's not
I
that far.
can't- Yeah.
Not,
yeah.
not a big difference there. Wild
No.
animal, John Voight.
Sure.
Yeah, he's a character.
You gotta get the stick with the
So Jerry shows up at Tim Watley's house and does the best like sneaky I'm definitely not
good.
here, but I am here kind of operation, walking around with his face covered. Dentist? Are you a dentist?
you a dentist.
You a dentist? Dentist?
You holding
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's looking for drugs, but he's really just
Yeah.
looking for someone to look at his face. And a lot of things going on in this apartment. Because George and Kramer are hanging out the window watching the floats and stuff get blown, balloons get blown up, and they find the Woody Woodpecker balloon. Just like this, what I thought was a throwaway joke of like, what's the appeal of Woody Woodpecker? And Kramer's like all mischievous.
Instigator.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, George says, "What is he? Some kind of instigator?" He says, "Yeah, he's a troublemaker." Like gets all excited about it. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." But Elaine then shows up. She's got her like pass. I guess it's a trophy, really. But
I think she's
so-
also got a trophy. I don't
yeah,
know.
she got
It's
a
whole
trophy,
thing.
and she can't hear anything because she's had a trumpet blowing in her ear for hours, hours, and never moved to another location in the deli. I guess like it just
No, of course
couldn't be
not.
done.
Why would you?
No, it just sat there and took it, and she can't hear
Yeah.
anything. And I've been there before, like when you just can't hear much of anything, and it's not a. She's way too happy for somebody that can't hear.
Well,
Like,
so
that's-
it's so good. It's so good because Jerry's such a jerk.
Oh yeah, he doesn't give her a pass at all. Will you marry me? What? I can't hear you.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
And so we get back over to Kramer and George talking to Tim about the pencil. So they're like, "Hey, I got a pencil I need to show you," and Tim's gonna help them look at it. You think? Until he gets distracted and he takes the pencil to write something down for somebody else.
Oh yeah, let me get your number because
Let me
somebody's
get your
leaving.
number. Yeah. And then Elaine comes over, and I guess George and Kramer wandered off to find another dentist to look at the arm. So Elaine comes over to talk to Tim. And remember, she really wants to go on a date with Tim. It's the whole purpose of her going to this party. She's excited about it. Oh,
Mhm.
she can't hear anything. Yeah, Tim.
So it's so painful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
God.
Oh.
She just, it's the way I used to talk to my grandpa because he was remarkably Southern and just didn't enunciate any words. And you would just
Yeah.
smile and nod and laugh on occasion. And you're like, I have no idea.
Except she doesn't smile and nod.
No.
He
no,
says, "Do you want to go out New Year's Eve?"
yeah.
No.
And she makes
No.
this
Because he
repulse
picks up a
face.
bowl of peanuts.
Oh
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So she assumes he's offering her peanuts, which she doesn't want. So she's, no, I don't think so. Like disgusted face.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
well, it's fine. Forget you then, and
Mhm.
wanders off. And she's like, what did I do? Oh, it's so
So
painful.
good.
It's so
It
bad.
hurts.
Yeah, I felt that one. Not good. So that's over.
Again, cell
Yeah.
phone, you just type out, I can't hear
I can't hear
my
you.
ears.
Or you just say, I
Yeah.
can't hear right
I can't
now.
hear you.
Yeah, that's all it would take. But she just
I think
wanted to
that's all
pretend
it
she was
takes, but she's
fine.
just-
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
I feel that. I do get that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at a
you know
party,
what?
and you're like, I want to be cool. I don't want to be like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like I remember one time I had a cold and I didn't want to shake somebody's hand when I first met them, so they reached out and I was like, oh, I don't want to shake your hand. I got a cold, and they made it really weird, and I made it really weird, and then I was like, I should have just said screw it and shook their hand. She just went with it,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I shouldn't have because it's impolite, but it made
Yeah.
it made it awkward, you know, and that's what
I
this.
feel like
was.
now we're a little better accustomed to that.
Yeah, now it'd be like, why aren't you
Now you'd be
wearing a
like,
mask, sick
I don't
person?
want to. Yeah. Get that out of my face.
Yeah, gosh,
Yep.
go home. What are you doing here? Yeah, germs. Kramer and George actually have cornered another dentist to check out this, but Watley's got the pencil in his mouth across the room, and George is like,
I'm
no.
gonna go out on a limb. Say a dentist probably wouldn't chew a pencil. It's
I'm-
not great for you.
I think you're probably right. If anything, he was just kind of gumming it, you know, maybe had it in his
Yeah.
lips, but he wasn't biting down,
Sure.
you know. But still, it could ruin the impression.
Yeah.
This is the answer. This is what George has wanted
The
this whole time.
integrity.
The proof that he had John Voight's car. And what does he get? Proof that he has John Voight's car because Tim Watley knows the car. He's like, oh, you bought John Voight's old LeBaron. Ha ha. Yes, I bought John Voight's old LeBaron, you know. And he's like, you know John Voight, the actor. What? No. I went to school
You know
with
John
John
Voight?
Voight.
Yeah, we went to,
Yeah,
we
we
went to
went to
dental school together.
He's a
John Voight, the
period-
actor? John Voight, the periodontist.
Yes. So it is a John, John.
Yeah.
And that's where we get our answer that George never owned John Voight's because the characters in this show cannot win. Seems to be another rule. Cannot win
No.
ever. So at least if they're going to be bad, they can't win. Which
Yeah,
is
they don't
okay.
win.
That makes it
Mhm.
okay. You know, if you
Yeah.
got like people that are kind of terrible, you don't want them to win. It makes people uncomfortable. Why are the bad guys winning? They don't. So while we have that going on, Jerry has found a dentist to look at his tooth. He leans back on Elaine's Empire State Building trophy, which falls and pops the Woody Woodpecker balloon, which is actually a thing that happened and is what this episode is built around. Is Woody Woodpecker's balloon deflating at the actual Thanksgiving parade? So it's a couple real events: the John Voight's car and Woody
John
Woodpecker.
Voight's car.
Yeah. It pops, and this is when they play back to the Tim Watley goes, "You're just a troublemaker," which Jerry replies, "Ha ha ha," you know, the Woody Woodpecker laugh. And then the next day, Jerry and Kramer are watching the parade, and the Woody Woodpecker thing's going down, and Mr. Pitt is struggling because he's underneath it, and it's falling, and he's so mad. They learn the mom and pop sneakers are in Jersey because somebody calls and says, I got Jerry Seinfeld sneakers, which is even funnier because of the John Voight's car. Now you got a guy who actually has Jerry Seinfeld
He just
sneakers.
calls him.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah, which I guess you could just find, you know, Jerry's
yeah,
number.
just in the phone book.
You know, there was a time where that was you could find celebrities in the phone book. Because I remember a story where
sure.
Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell called Larry Fine of the Three Stooges because they found his number in the LA phone book and had a great conversation with him. The guy was just
standing.
yeah, apparently super cordial and talked to them forever. So, because once you get old, you
Amazing.
just talk to anybody for as long as
Sure.
they want. And then
I also
there's
love that mom and pop are having a garage sale on Thanksgiving Day in New
Right.
Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably fine. And then I didn't understand the bus reference, but it was apparently a movie with Dustin Hoffman and John Voight, Kramer, and Jerry Seinfeld are on the bus. Like it was almost a line. for
Yeah,
line
it's
recreation.
a reference to movie Midnight Cowboy
Okay.
that John Voight did. It's one of his more famous roles.
Okay.
And yeah, it was so that's what that was.
Yeah. And then that's why I think Kramer had a nosebleed the whole episode was primarily for this scene at the very end.
Yep.
It's just this whole Seinfeld episode is just this tapestry just woven of jokes in and out, subplots coming in and out. Nothing is left dangling. You know what I mean? Like there's no it
and
reminds
none of it means anything.
right.
There's zero stake. The highest stakes are Jerry trying to get his sneakers back.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing big going on at all. It's all perfectly small time stuff. I had a really great time with this episode. I debated about it because it was barely a Thanksgiving show, but it was also really fun. It's no WKRP, but I did find it on the list of Thanksgiving shows. I was like, great Thanksgiving episodes of TV. And this one was on there. I was like, you know what? We haven't done Seinfeld, and we should try. Wish we'd had some Jerry Stiller or some Newman or some Seinfeld's cafe deal in it. We didn't
Yeah.
get any of those touchstones of the show, those things that you just remember. But we got a lot of good quality content and a guest star in John Voight and Bryan Cranston. It's pretty great.
Mhm.
So overall, I think we had a good time on the show. So Amy, you liked it. Travis, you like Seinfeld. Audie, did you
Oh, yeah.
enjoy yourself a little bit?
Yeah, it was fine. It was,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I think the guest stars did it for me and made it that much more funny.
Oh, sure.
Like especially John Voight biting Kramer's arm.
People you know.
So good.
Yeah. So
And
is
anything
this...
Bryan Cranston did, I will watch.
I love that guy. He's been good for a long time. I didn't know anything about him till Breaking Bad because I never watched Malcolm in the Middle. Which is that a pre-2000 series? That might have to show up at some point, I guess. Maybe.
It's
98, 99 maybe when that was running. Nah, it probably came along later. I can't remember when Frankie Muniz was a thing. Now he races cars, I don't know. But Seinfeld background. I know I background stuff for me because I actually left it on in the background and it rolled to the next episode.
I
the
did.
Secretary.
I did see a few more. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I just-
secretary one is so good.
It was good. I was like, all right, I'm in. It was pretty great. So I know Amy, you would watch more Seinfeld.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I figured
Oh,
as
yeah.
much because we talked about it. Or Travis, you would watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch more
Yeah.
for sure.
Audie, willing to give it another try if we make you because we're watching it for this show.
I won't not watch it, sure.
If it's my homework assignment, I'll check. Well, I totally understand because, like I said, my wife was like, "That was great." With that, like, I want to support you kind of voice. I'm like, all right, I know,
Yeah.
I know, and I appreciate the effort because Lord knows, I've watched enough of some random show before and been like, yeah, I will sit here while you watch that. That's what we'll do. This
Yeah.
is our activity together.
And then you get too involved though, right? You're like, I don't care about this show, but I can't not know what's going on.
Oh yeah, I've had those.
"Ugh,
But see, then I've
I
also
don't
had
care, but what's happening?
I've also had the ones though, like Downton Abbey. Like, not gonna lie, every time I walk downstairs, she's watching. Like, why would you watch this? And then I sat there once, and I was so invested, and I cried, and I laughed, and I cried, and every time someone
when
got
you
an
can get sucked into.
someone got in a motor vehicle, I was like, stop! Anytime someone was riding in a car, I was just like, it's
yeah,
the
it was
end.
not.
This is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
But Downton Abbey was treasure. So every now and then there's a nugget that I get pulled into. Then I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this without you if you're not home. Like, this is my show now. I have
My
taken
show.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, Seinfeld was great. I had a wonderful time. We've got no mail this week that I was able to find. But and I don't think we had any big feedback on Seinfeld. I know I have friends that basically watch this through season 10 and then restart it and just watch it again. Like, they're super fans.
Put it on.
Yeah, and there's so much cultural stuff in here. Close talkers and double dippers and yada, yada, yada. Like, Seinfeld
Yeah.
permeated the culture. And
It really did.
even if you don't know you've brought up a thing from Seinfeld, you probably have. Like, you've probably said something or been a part of a conversation where a Seinfeld reference was brought up and maybe no one even knew because it just created so many things. I didn't know Double Dip was a Seinfeld creation.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah. I will say I'm a fan of George Costanza's answering machine message.
Oh, gosh. That, of course.
Isn't at home.
We talked about that on our first episode with the Greatest American Hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We should all just change our voicemails to that. Sounds wonderful, actually. Not that I ever care about any. No one I like gets my voicemail unless I'm like in the middle. Okay, they get my voicemail because I'll be in the middle of something. And I get accused of screening phone
happens.
calls. Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not screening. I just have a child, and I was doing. You always call me at 6 when I'm making
Doing
tacos.
stuff.
Gosh, Like, I'm always sitting down to dinner, making dinner, or putting a child in bed. I can't answer the
Yeah.
phone. Call me in work
Mhm.
hours. Jeez, when I'm not doing anything. Gosh.
My
All
free
right.
time. at
Yeah,
work.
when I'm in my free time during the workday. Oh, this has been so much fun. Great fun talking about Seinfeld season 2 or season 6, episode 8.
Yes.
And we are going into a new show next week. Amy, where are we going? What are we going to watch?
All right. So I originally, when I was trying to pick like a first episode, because I fall into sort of the no man's land of holidays, right? It's like after
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, but Christmas is still pretty far because Thanksgiving's pretty early this year. So I was originally thinking about picking a Seinfeld episode because I was going to do the Festivus episode because
Oh,
that's like
yeah.
a nothing holiday, right? But I'm not going to do that. I've decided I'm
This
going to go
time.
hardcore Christmas special because I am in the mood for a hardcore Christmas special. And nobody does Christmas harder than the Muppets.
Oh, my word.
So
Ooh.
we're going to watch one that is near and dear to my heart as a child. That when I was a child, before the internet, no one I knew had seen. It was like exclusive to my family. And so it was only upon the internet that other people that knew it showed up. So we are going to be watching Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, I can tell Audie's
Yeah.
excited.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm excited too.
It's on
I'm
Amazon
pumped.
Prime and Peacock if you happen to have that one. I don't. It's like the one I don't have, and I don't know anyone who does, but sure.
I
But
have
it's
it.
on Prime.
I don't know why.
I have it
Yeah,
on.
I
Have it
I
on
do, but it's
DVD
on Prime.
also.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
I
great.
gotta say, watch it and then do yourself a favor and watch
Mhm.
the outtakes on YouTube.
Oh, for
Oh,
sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For
I'm in.
sure.
Yes.
100%. We'll talk about it next week, but the version that I had extra things at the beginning. I
Yes.
had a whole other thing on the other side of
Mm.
the video record, which we've talked about before. A lot of time. So
I'm
Otter's
pumped.
Jug Band Christmas. I'm so excited.
All
there
right.
you go. I decided to go hardcore.
No, I'm ready because I didn't
Excellent.
even know this was a thing. I am not someone in the Frost
Oh, yeah.
family, so I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm really excited.
Oh, this is so for you though. Oh,
Mhm.
I love the
you are gonna
Muppets.
love this.
Okay,
This is
great.
very your jam.
Oh, whoa,
100%.
I'm so all right. Now I'm gonna watch it like tomorrow. I'm so excited. It's
It's
gonna be great. Well, thank you everyone who hung out in the chat, Phil and Phil, for hanging out in the chat with us tonight. I know if other people were there, they didn't talk, but Phil, you're getting all the love tonight. And to everyone who listens, thank you very much. If you have something you want to send us or talk to us about with the show, you can tweet us at Those Days Show, or you can send us email at thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com. We love your emails. You should send them. They're great. And
Yes.
with that, also don't forget to leave us a review. You should do that from time to time. Just go in there and be like, 5 stars, wherever. With that, we'll leave you guys with another week. Come back next week for Emmett Otter's Jug Band
Jug Band Christmas.
with Amy. For me, for Amy, for Travis, for Audie, thank you so much, and we will see you next time on Those Were the Days.